Well, we are going live, and I'm Jono Brake, and I'm here with Mark Phillips. For me, I can't even see outside yet, just like Justin can't. So it's still dark here on the east coast of the US, and but by the time we finish this call, the sun will be up, so that'll be good. But Mark, good to have you here again, mate. Great to be here, and
thanks for the early morning start, Jono.
Yeah, not a problem. This will be the first and the last. I've gone through half my coffee trying to look like I've been awake for hours. This is reminiscent of when I used to work in Australia and had American clients, and I'd be up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing Skype calls, and all I allowed was 10 minutes just to put a decent t-shirt on, put a cup of tea on, and sound like I was awake. They had no idea what time of the day it was. Thankfully,
well, you never have bed hair. At least that's a good problem for both of us if we get up at that time. So
yeah. So we got Justin Falk with us today. Justin hails originally from Zimbabwe, and for those of you just coming online now on Facebook, we just had a chat with his mum in Harare, which was kind of fun. It kind of spawned I think we're going to go back and have further discussions. I think it'd be good to have some discussions with some people who are doing business in different parts of Africa. You know, I've been in Malawi and Uganda, Kenya, places like that, and now talking to people in, Mark, we're talking with people in Niger and Nigeria, all sorts of places. So there's a lot going on. But anyway, that's not what we're here today. We're here to focus on this good-looking fella on screen right now. And
I think you put the dog out, didn't you? You know, you can't blame the dog now. No. Justin, great to have you here again.
Yeah, Justin, welcome. And I met Justin, well, Mark's known Justin for longer than me, but I met Justin in a cafe in Maroochydore or somewhere like that a few years ago. You were launching TalentVine, I think, at the time, and we did do an interview with you back then, or what it's been like to go through that early startup space, but so much has happened. So first of all, Justin, tell us a bit about who you are and what you're doing and what you're working on, then we'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thanks guys. So stoked to be on here. Quite a few years in between these chats, but just get a bit of background. Like you said, I'm from Zim, based over in Brisbane now. So originally was in Sydney. Realized very quickly that when you quit the corporate world and you're living in Bondi, your money disappears very, very fast. So that's where I gave up that life, moved up to the Sunshine Coast to basically live on my mate's couch and pay as little as possible. And that's when I managed to meet you guys and, found it was a, really incredible supportive environment up there on the sunny coast, and decided to stick it out and for a couple of years, and then made my way to Brizzy. So I'm the CEO and founder of TalentVine. So we are essentially a marketplace that connects employers with specialist recruiters that then bid for the opportunity to present their top candidates. So we've had a product in the market now for about 3.5 years. We've got about 550 recruitment agencies across Australia that we work with, and then we're supporting about 350 employers across Australia as well that use our platform from a vendor management platform to manage all our recruitment agencies, all the way through to just that very sporadic, episodic marketplace use of once or twice per year. So our clients include the likes of Optus, Vodafone, Boston Consulting Group, Grant Thornton, so some of the bigger corporates as well. It's been quite a journey, and looking forward to sharing more of that with you now.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really cool. Yeah. So Mark, how would you like to take this?
Well, I just thought to let people know that, we interviewed Justin, 4 or 5 years ago now, just at that early page. So those videos from your early days are still available on our site and our YouTube page. So for people who want to get a bit more of the backstory about how Justin, started smuggling things across borders, received death threats, escaped to the UK, joined MI5, did all sorts of really cool stuff. There's a whole long interview back there for for
employed
digestion.
by MI5, but I'm happy to go with that story. I would love to watch those again. I think it's amazing. You don't know what you don't know. I'd love to see how optimistic and I was back in those days before I had any of these battle scars. So yeah,
But
a lot more hair as well.
That's interesting, because the life of a startup is a lot about battling. You're up one day, you're down the next. There's new things that come at you that you're not prepared. Even the most battle-scarred people still get lots of things out of left field these days, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I
So
mean,
how big's your team these days, Justin?
Pre-COVID or right now?
Well, both.
So I mean, we were up to 11. There's 6 of us at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So COVID's one of those left field things that nobody predicted. You don't exactly have a contingency plan for something like that happening. How did you handle it?
Yeah, so I mean, being in the recruitment space, right, we were hit kind of front and center. We could kind of see this coming from, early kind of March. We realized that, any kind of lockdown was going to have quite a big effect on us. And, look, it's been, incredibly hard. I think any of the founders who are going through COVID, I think one of the biggest things is the impact that it has on your team, right? And you learn to take on so much of your shoulders. You're supporting not only people's careers, but there's families and a lot of that. And, unfortunately, you need to have to look at it in a way that we need the business to survive that can benefit most of the team. And that's the important thing. And to do that, you have to kind of cut hard and you have to cut quite quick as well, which is, that certainly has been one of the hardest things that I've been through, having to reduce the team. But that's what we did. We just really pulled back on all the costs. I think that was the number one thing, is just to kind of control our costs. And then really, just made as much of an effort to just farm, with the existing clients that we had.
Did you consider shutting the whole thing down? Just bankrupting the business, shutting it down, closing everything?
No, we didn't. So I mean, thankfully, we closed a funding round in December. So we've got runway, which is we hoping is going to get us through. I'm pretty confident will get us through COVID. So that's a great thing. But I mean, if this had happened to us 3 months before, we were closing around, it taken quite a bit of time. We ended up having to borrow, some money off one of the investors just to be able to make payroll. So, imagine if that had been, 3 months earlier, then yeah, I'd probably be on seek right now.
So it's hard, it's emotional. You're saying goodbye to friends, there's unmet expectations. None of it is your fault. It's just sort of how the world turned. How was it emotionally on the team? Yeah,
it's the amazing thing that I found was that the team is actually pulled together a lot closer than they actually were, before this. So it's been really hard on a lot of the team members. And I mean, I can tell you our product manager, Sana, who's absolutely amazing. 2 weeks ago, her mother and father-in-law both passed away from COVID over in India. And as of, 3 days ago, she's now got 3 of her cousins and her mother and 2 of her uncles in ICU, and in hospital as well. So, you've got team members, and that's what they're dealing with. They're so isolated, they're so far away from their family, and that just becomes your priority, right? In terms of shipping any product or anything, it's just making sure that your team are number one, and that they know that. So it's really been quite a challenge for us. I think the most important thing though is just open communication, and that's what I've done with the team. I've shown them my cash flow forecasts. They've seen exactly where every dollar is being spent at the moment. Everyone has had to take a salary cut. We're all working reduced salaries, and most of the team, I gave them the option as well that this means that they can work fewer days per week as well, as a result, and they've opted to continue working full time as well, just to really do everything that they can to get the business through. So that's been amazing to see, and incredibly grateful for that.
Great.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And in terms of pivots and opportunities, how did you look at at this? Did you sort of say, I need to change my model, I need to change my industry? What do we need to change? Did all of that go through your head?
It's a great question, and we did. I think it took about 4 weeks. 4 weeks in of, I think being quite stubborn and, no, it's fine. We'll get through this. We'll pick up a few more clients. After those 4 weeks, we realized, all right, we need to look at different revenue streams, right? Because I think the hardest thing about this being a founder at the moment is the unknown, right? Is this another 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? What are we looking at here? So absolutely, we have done a bit of a pivot. We've we're starting to look at licensing our platform out for others to be able to use within their own ecosystems, from the CCIQ, GrowCom organizations such as that. So we're looking in the labor hire space now as well. There's a lot of exploitation happening with all the farm workers and the travelers. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that in the space over in Australia. So, we've got an opportunity to, do some real good there at the moment. There's some other kind of things that we've picked up on. So, we have so many recruiters who are signing up and joining us now. We've just recently been made redundant. Yep. And they're coming to us with no web presence, nothing like that. So that's suddenly a different revenue stream that, okay, we can help these guys get set up, get on their feet. We know all the metrics, we know what employers are looking for when it comes to selecting recruiters. So we've got that little revenue stream that's happening as well. So
did you look outside of Australia? Did you look at other countries?
Well, we were actually, gearing up to do a Series A when COVID actually started, and that was going to be growth capital for us to actually start looking into wider into the APAC region. So COVID has put all of that on hold. So really, we just kind of scaled back. Let's our number one goal, let's survive, let's get through this, and then once we're on the other side of COVID, I know we're going to be in a fantastic position to help so many companies actually rebuild that team. So
that the farm worker right? Because that wasn't your traditional market. You were dealing with a lot of techie sort of general management sort of people.
White collar, yeah. Yeah, so that's definitely
reasonably specialised.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, Mark, I lost you there.
Yeah, that's all right. I can see the answer just here.
So sorry, I didn't catch what you asked.
I was just sort of saying it was historically a specialised market about placing workers into farms, and Australia had a lot of the backpackers, but it doesn't have that now, and that creates different pressure on the farmers. Literally 2 hours ago, I had the same conversation in Finland, where all of their fruit is not being picked at the moment because traditionally they have a lot of Thai workers that Finland and work in farms, but they can't get in at the moment. So again, there's the same pressures in other countries, which didn't exist 6 or 12 months ago.
For sure, yeah, absolutely, and I think we would be foolish to think that the world of recruitment is going to be the same after this as well. It's not. We're already seeing the trends, and where people are hiring that we just worked with a business on the Sunshine Coast that just hired their CTO down in Newcastle in New South Wales. And this is what we're going to expect. People don't need that talent anymore to be in the same place as them. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to give it another 6-12 months, and they're suddenly going to realize, well, actually, I don't need my CTO to be in Australia when I could get someone who's worked for Atlassian and lives in the Philippines, and I can actually get them for a third of the price as well. So I think you've just got to keep an eye on what's happening on the trends, look at all your data, and just be able to move fast. I think that's the only way that we're going to survive through this. Yeah, fantastic. So stepping away from COVID for a minute, because I think everyone's talking about this right now, but I think that journey of pivoting and that journey of being able to recognize where you can adapt and adjust is very, very important. But let's just step back to your story. How does Justin become the entrepreneur he is today? How did I end up doing this? So it's probably one of the wrong reasons to ever want to start a business was just working for a company with a 70% turnover, where I was just so incredibly happy that I just kind of so unhappy. I just decided, you know what, I don't think I could ever work for someone again. I need to try and find an idea. And so I certainly wouldn't suggest anybody takes that route. Instead, I went and took out a $15,000 loan a week before I quit my job, and I thought, there you go, this is gonna get me through. Because I can create a forecast and, oh look, I'm going to be making $1 million by Q2. So that was my original idea, and what I wanted to do was just have an online comparative site for everything in the HR tech, HR services space. So where people could go and they could compare, applicant tracking systems to psychometric testing, video interviewing software, recruiters, all that. But before doing anything, I did a survey to absolutely everyone that I knew. I came from the psych testing space, and I just asked people, what do you want to be able to compare? And they just came back saying, want to be able to compare recruiters. There's no way to be able to compare recruiters at the moment. So I just thought, okay, so there's some legs here. Let me go down this way. Why do you want to compare recruiters? And then I got this completely wrong. And I thought the reason is because they were too expensive. And it took me a few years to realize that, yes, the kind of cost saving is a byproduct, but what people actually want is just the best candidate, and that's the most important thing. So my first year in first year 18 months of TalentVine, we got very little traction, and that was purely because I was connecting employers to the cheapest recruiters, which is not a future predictor of their on-the-job performances as well. So once we figured that out, we were able to use our data a lot more to be able to predict and be able to connect employers to the most suitable recruiters, the ones that had that proven track record and the ability to deliver what they need to. Then that's when things started to definitely kind of to pick up. So I was certainly on the wrong tangent to start with.
Fantastic. Yeah, we've heard a lot of discussions around this where they talked about, particularly about customers. We've had quite a few we've talked to, and they've kind of started out in one corner, and then as they've kind of worked out the market, talked a bit further, they've had to pivot a lot. So just talk to that a little bit. How did you discover the right and the wrong markets for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, so much of it is just is trial and error, right? And that was a big thing for us. And when we once we figured out what employers really wanted, we were very much convinced that, all right, the bigger end of town, enterprise, they've got all these existing relationships with recruiters and everything already. We need to really focus on the SME market. And the advocates, the massive advocates that we have are the startups and the small businesses. However, you can grow your way to bankruptcy, very easily. And whilst that was an area of the market that we wanted to be able to service, that we realized that it's not actually feasible with our model being an episodic marketplace if someone's only going to be using you once, maximum twice per year, right? So that was another massive learning for us, and that took us some time to then actually realize it's the enterprise, right? And that's where we want to play. And a big learning for me was, I think a lot of people, and I fell for the trap as well, kind of think there's this glamorization of startups and it's so kind of sexy and it's cool and it's just disruptive. But you know what, where 73% of our revenue comes from is from the larger enterprises who use us as a vendor management platform to handle that procurement on the back end, which is as dull as it gets, but that's what employers love about us now, and that's what keeps the lights on. So that was a great finding for us.
So is this a game then where you're using that to cash and grow the business and then want to go into some of the more edgy stuff, or are you seeing that this is just where the business has ended up and that's a good thing?
So we've kind of split the business into two now. So we've got there's the marketplace that our digital ads get new employers on board, and that's very much the small businesses and SMEs that might want to use us once or twice. And the the cost of the customer acquisition is bearable there, because that's, you know, those leads are coming through us through the online. Whereas, you know, myself and the sales client service team, our focus is on enterprise, right? Because these are the employers that we know are going to, you know, use us 10, 20, 30 times per year. And that's really where the revenue lies in for us.
Awesome.
As well. So, yeah.
So completely different line of questioning, and Mark, you're probably a bit closer to this. I want to talk about your investor journey, and hear a bit about the story of, obviously, you know, your first investor was you, as you said, you got a loan before you quit your job.
Yeah.
And very smart, and maybe, but then, yeah. So what's the investment journey? What are, as much as you can say, obviously, but what's the investment journey been like? We'll ask some more questions around that, but just tell us about the actual, the chronological time first, because you said you closed around just before COVID.
Yeah, I did. So, I mean, we've done, I think it's four rounds that we've had now. So the very first time was probably not a traditional kind of seed round as you'd normally see. So because we actually had so little traction at that point, and as you guys will know, right, that's one of the most important things that investors really look for. So the second client that we ever had on board was actually backed by an angel investment group as well, and we were able to save her about $12,000 in the placement that we did. And you know, she was fantastic, and you know, was really kind of proactive in actually saying this is a model that needs to exist, and you know, you're going to actually need some funding behind you to make this happen, because it was just myself. I'm a non-technical founder. You know, I had a $450 WordPress site with some contact forms in the back end, and that was our MVP. Right. So that was I think on a Thursday, I got an email through saying, yeah, we're happy for you to come in and pitch to Brisbane Angels. And I think that Friday morning I was frantically on the phone to Mark, and he kind of helped me over that weekend and just to put together a bit of a pitch deck and go over what the kind of questions are that investors are likely to ask. And that was a completely new world for me. I had, you know, I wasn't banking on that happening at any stage at all. So, yeah, I got notice on Thursday. Tuesday evening pitched, and got a kind of thumbs up, and was able to raise $70,000 at that initial stage. So just very small seed investment to get us underway, and that was enough to be able to start kind of validating the concept and getting a few more runs on the board. During that time, I was able to, I met Tex, which was fantastic, who's my co-founder. And then, you know, we got together and built in the platform. But we, you know, I mean, $70,000, as you know, trying to launch a business, that it goes so fast, right? So
right, yeah.
we were still lean, right? And it took about another 12 months before we even looked to start to build a product or anything there, which is a blessing in disguise, because we couldn't afford to go and build any technology. So we had to stay in this MVP stage whilst our competitor went and did a listing on the ASX and had a team of 40, 26 mil market cap. And we ended up doing 93% of the revenue that they did when there were two of us. And that's purely because, you know, I used to shop that platform the whole time as a competitor, and I would get confused. And I really think that you see a lot of companies, when they've got too much money to start with, they build all the kind of bells and whistles, which is not required, where we never had that luxury. So by the time when we wrote that first ever line of code, you know, we had, through the MVP process, we had refined it so much that we knew exactly what we needed to build. And I believe that we got that right the first time.
Mm.
That's fantastic.
That's interesting.
You had this whole journey with the investors. I love that whole concept of lean growth as well. You know, Mark, you've probably seen this too. I see a lot of people come out of big business or government, and they're used to kind of the pot of gold mentality, right? They're used to just having money there, and it's usually the thing they struggle with the most is they might have a payout or something, and then they just think that's going to last them forever.
Yeah, exactly. And you know,
you don't understand the urgency and the agility that's required to spend that money wisely. So your first round was 70,000.
Yeah, first round. And then that was able to get us through to, we then got into an accelerator program. So the Muridi Accelerator Program, which was run by Riversea Labs, and that was great. So as part of that, they took a small amount of equity, and we got $60,000. So again, it wasn't that much, but at that stage we had actually started. We were post revenue then as well, which was good. So that was able to last a bit longer, and had a team of interns, which was great as well. Great experience for them, and cheap labor for us as well, which helped a lot. And then we then did a round in about mid 2018. So about $600,000. So that we raised at that point.
That was about 2 years after your first angel investment.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah, it was about 2 years. So that was where, so Brisbane Angels, they participated then again. QET Blue Box, we had a couple of private investors, and then Queensland Government Business Development Fund as well. So they were a co-investor on that round as well. So yes, certainly been quite a fan of what the Queensland Government have been doing for startups. That they're really supportive of us at the moment.
Okay.
And that's the funding round. The funding journey, should I say.
So each time you've gone through that funding round, it sounds like the journey's been way more than just, hey, here's someone with a bucket of money. Your first investor, saw the benefit of the product. You're saying you personally saved them 12 grand or whatever it was in recruitment costs. So, so how did these investors become more than investors? How did they really add value to your business rather than just giving you money? Yeah,
sure. So, the best way that any investor can support their portfolio is to use them and use them as clients and to help them get new clients, right? It's because that's what you want, right? The best money is revenue and not investment, right? As much as you can do without having to keep giving a slice away of your equity, then that makes people a lot happier.
It's become our favorite. It's become our favorite tagline, right, Mark? The best investor is the client.
It's the customer. Yes. That's it.
Because they want the least from you.
Yes, exactly. So look, some of our investors did that. Really helped us with introductions to bigger end of town as well, and them just using us as well for their own companies for hiring. So that was incredibly helpful. But it's not just that as well. It's the support that you have around them. with them coming on, whether it's just a board, as board members, or just letting you know that they're there to kind of support you and run things run things by you the whole time. That's been really important. So we've my chairman until about 3 months ago, Steve, he was the deal lead back when I was when I was at concept stage, and we did that first 70K round, and he's been with us on the whole journey, and it's been incredible.
So tell me about other people you've brought around this journey. Okay, so you talked about co-founders, you talked about your team, you talked about in different guises, but investors. So what is the team you've brought around you that's helped you get to where you are today?
Oh, so many. Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure there's a bunch that have come and gone too, but just on the whole. So
I mean we've got team members that have joined us, and they are genuinely co-founders, right, of the business, and I think that has been so important. I think you guys you'll probably know the stats better than me, but I'm sure one of the highest rates of failures in startup world is solo founders, and it's lonely and it's flipping hard, and when you've got no one there to cry with you at 1 o'clock at night when you're trying to get something out, it's pretty damn hard. So I think one of the most incredible things that I find about this journey is how willing people are to actually help. People are good. Mm-hmm. People are really good, and that's what I believe in. And just reaching out to people and just explaining, hey, I've got this problem. I know this is something that you've solved before. You've been down this journey. Can I just please grab by your coffee and just learn from you? I think that's exactly what I did with you, Mark, and that's exactly how I met you. We were sat opposite each other, I think, at the Innovation Center, and I saw this guy and I saw a name on your name badge, and something just told me you seem quite interesting, and I found you on LinkedIn the next day, and yeah, that's how we caught up. So you've just got to get this tribe around you of people that you can trust, other founders, they can be outside of your business as well, just to pick your brain. And I think, and just to be honest, right, I think it's so common, I think, especially in the B2B business, everyone just put up it, B2B startups put on this brave face of, yeah, everything's going great, everything's fine. Even in the midst of COVID, you speak to so many people and they tell you how great they're doing, and that's not the case. So anyone that you can bring around you that's really going to be honest and tell you how it is. That's really what you need.
Yeah, that's amazing, mate. And so let's talk about co-founders for a minute. And so you've mentioned, a bunch of them are co-founders in their own right.
Yep.
There are some that are actually co-founders. So talk through the process of bringing on a co-founder and how that's been for you, obviously relinquishing a little bit of your baby as well, and sharing that with another parent, so to speak. And you've got a puppy dog, so you understand,
Yeah, I know. Yes, I've my little fur baby. So yeah, I mean, one of the really tricky things is finding a technical co-founder, right? So when you start on your own, I think you're so full of passion, you believe in your own product, but to be able to really sell that dream to someone else, to convince them to kind of quit their job, if they've got a family or whatever that they're doing, to come and join you is incredibly hard. So Tex, absolute dead set legend. So he was studying mechatronics final year at QUT. I don't think he's actually finished yet. But we were sorry,
mechatronics.
Yeah, mechatronics.
Oh, it's a big discipline.
That's awesome.
Big robots.
It just sounds cool.
He makes me feel very dumb every day. We were just introduced by one of the mentors in the Brisbane startup space. I honestly lucked out because I know how hard that is to do. We met for a coffee. I told him what I was trying to solve. He was kind of teaching himself to code at the time as well. So very much self-taught. And we thought, well, do you want to go for a beer? A week or so after that, and we had a few beers, and it was pretty much a handshake. And he just said, let's do this, and that was it. And Tex still had he had a full-time job, so he would. We would come and catch up, and we would work together on Thursday evenings, and then on the weekend, and that was it. So, I was, drawing a tiny salary at the time. And this was after the 70K that I'd been able to raise. Tex was still working full time. And he worked for free, for the business for those first 6 months, which is hard. And when you're not technical as well, you start thinking, well, hey, why the hell have you not built this whole platform yet? You started 2 weeks ago. It should be done. So it's hard. A lot of entrepreneurs are not born leaders either. So that's something that you learn as you go along with as well. So we've never had. We were actually talking about this the other day. We've never had fisticuffs and really screaming and shouting at each other, which I think we're quite lucky, and I presume is probably quite rare. And then it was about 2 years of working together, and those first years are incredibly tough. And I fully respect Tex of he actually came and said, look, I think I've lost kind of a bit of passion for this. I think I would like to know what it's like to actually be able to earn a bit of a salary as well. But he said, look, he obviously had equity in the business, and he wanted to see it work. So was there and did everything he needed to be able to hand things over. And he's still he's still with us, and a day, 2 days a week that is in the office working with us. And his company knows that, and they give him that kind of full freedom. And he made an amazing call, which I think a lot of co-founders would, where he was still acting as the CTO, and he actually said, look, I think I've reached the level of my limit, and you actually need someone more senior and more knowledgeable than me now. So and he happily, even as the co-founder, stood back into like the lead developer position.
Pretty rare.
Yeah, particularly in the technology space.
Yeah,
they don't
exactly.
Like they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so James came on and joined us as and still is our CTO today.
So is he a third co-founder, or this is just someone you've employed?
Yeah, I made the decision, and it's something that Tex and I actually went to James and think what you've done is deserving of a co-founder status, and
beautiful.
Yeah.
So Justin, tell us about how you end up sharing equity. When you did your rounds, did you put together a percentage of all shares, future shares, to go to staff in staff options and so forth? How did you accommodate in preparation?
Yeah, we did. So we put 15% aside as ESOP for future staff, or board members, anything like that as well. So I just find that the vested interest that people have in the business and seeing you succeed is exponentially more when they've got that equity, right, and they see the value and what can actually come from an exit. So what we did with we structured Tex's equity as options, so that he wouldn't be hit with a big tax bill, so that's what we've been able to give the rest of the team.
Okay, and when you take on a second CTO, or a third or a fourth, is that still within the employment ESOP, as it's called in Australia, the ESOP funds, or do you privately negotiate?
Yes, still within the ESOP, yeah.
Okay, so sometimes we're seeing a couple of different models arriving out of the US at the moment. So there's the co-founder group and an ESOP group, and they're getting a little bit mixed at the moment.
I'm coming up against that a little bit in my world in terms of managing conflict and people and teams. It's and often it's in the co-founder group, they've actually given too many shares often to a CEO. And the CEO, for example, might go rogue, and then the people in the ESOP who really own most of the company feel powerless.
Well, they are the company.
and they are the company anyway, just purely from the product point of view. But I've seen that quite a bit. That's actually quite a common model over here, Mark.
We're starting to see that conflict in Europe as well. One of the mobs we're dealing with, 7 co-founders, and COVID has almost shut them down, and it's like this jockeying as to
I remember working with a co-op of 15 doctors back in Australia. That was herding cats. It really was. But anyway, Justin, you're about to say something, mate? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, like, you're talking about trends. I'm surprised by how many startups you see that don't actually have any vesting schedules.
Amazing. Well. It's not a common thing in Australia. It's completely overlooked in many aspects.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a friend. They did raised $1 million, and the first expense was that $150,000 paid out to their outgoing CTO, who had only been with them for about the first 6 months. Had a massive falling out, but he held all the equity, and they had around. They got Rocket Internet from Germany. They wanted to invest in them, and I mean, you've seen what Rocket have done with anyone in their portfolio, and the CTO was said no, and it all fell down as a result of him, and so you really need that in place.
So here you are as a non-tech, business-minded, customer service orientated founder.
Zimbabwean living in Australia.
Well, apart from not knowing which language or accent to use. And you're trying to help customers, and the customers you first thought you wanted to help actually didn't like your stuff. You had to find some new customers. Along the way, you had to learn about what these techs were talking about, and suddenly develop all of these soft skills about dealing with a growing number of team and stakeholders called investors and accelerator programs and extended families in tough times. It's a big move from hard skills to soft skills, isn't it? Going through the role of a founder.
Oh yeah, massively. And I mean, I started my.
Hence why we got to stop calling them soft skills.
Yeah,
Oh, fair call,
that's a great point, actually. Yeah, very true. And I mean, I started, my MBA, and I stopped after 4 subjects, postgrad, certain business, and what you learn in business is just exponential in comparison to that, right? So I'm really glad that I did that, because I realized quite quickly I'm spending so much time learning about accounting and all these things that I'm just going to outsource anyway, and then kind of focus on my strengths and do what I'm good at. Well, now I actually realize how important it is to actually understand the financials and know all that.
One day they'll give you an honorary MBA, mate. When you cash out as a billionaire, mate, they'll get you in because, of course, you graduated. Remember?
Yeah.
And they'll get you to tell your story.
If Mugabe can be given seven degrees from Edinburgh University and everything else around the world, I'm sure I can convince someone to give me one. So that would be good.
If you've got dollars, you can get anything in America.
Well,
there's not Zimbabwe dollars. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got billions.
that or Photoshop, of course.
Yeah.
That will probably work as well. So I think those soft skills are so important, and it's just a constant learning. But you've got to those soft skills to look after other people. But I think a lot of people, and you do, and I made this mistake, is you don't look after yourself as well, right? And your stress levels and your health. And I probably haven't told you this, but I mean, towards the end of 2018, I super run down, trying to close off that round, got glandular fever, followed up with chronic fatigue for 6 months. So when you're trying to scale, and in that time we went from a team of 4 to up to 11, and trying to do that when you're running on about 10% energy. And I mean, I was
it doesn't take long for people to notice, right? I'm sure you spent as much as you could plucking up the courage you had to keep putting on the brave face, which probably made it worse.
Yeah, it did. It absolutely did. The doctor told me, close your laptop, get into bed for 2 weeks, and get out. And then I was back in the office after 2 days, which I was a complete idiot. I shouldn't have. And it actually took James, the CTO, sitting me down and saying, mate, just go the fuck home, get better, because you're doing us a disservice the longer it takes for you to get better. And it's so true. But you have this feeling as well of I can't, I'm saturated, I'm feeling so tired. How can I at 2:00 in the afternoon say, oh guys, sorry, I'm really tired, I'm just going to go home? When you kind of think, can you imagine, if one of my team told me I'm feeling a little bit tired, I'm going to go home, what the hell's going on?
Well, that's interesting, because I mean that's a real problem, right? Because it's not just the real, you talk about chronic fatigue and all these things that they kind of creep up, but they actually catch up with you very suddenly in the end. And and so that whole journey of just pushing and pushing and pushing, it's as part of the entrepreneur's journey, right? You work every day to make your own world happen. And,
absolutely.
What did the team actually say when you went home?
They got on, and the business didn't fall apart, and they knew what the hell to do. And so I don't know what I was worried about exactly.
You hear this time and time again. I did it in my first business. I had to go. I took a holiday for a couple of weeks over in Fiji, left it to the staff. I said, I'm on the phone. You can call me when there's something going on. I get back, and sales have gone up. I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong that they're selling better than me? I better start looking a bit closer at myself.
Well, I always say that to some, to people. The mark of a great business is when you walk away and it gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah, to a business owner anyway. Yeah.
But you're right. Your team members are on for the journey. They want to be successful, and they know that it takes everybody. It's not a command and control sort of master-servant relationship we have in a startup anymore. It's a collective team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a collective team. So, everyone wears so many hats, and, everything is covered. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And I wish I'd known that earlier. And I think, mentally it would have given me so much more strength, and probably would have helped me to recover. So yeah, they're amazing. I know I could step away and do what I need now. And yeah.
So how do you chill out today? We've seen photos of your dog on Facebook. That's a very cute little puppy you got there. But,
have you seen his Instagram page? Because that's TalentVine's my second job. I'm actually Reggie's social media manager. That's my that's my first.
So Dashhound, right?
Yes, yeah.
Dashhound called Reggie.
Little Dashhound. I might as well put a plug in while I'm at it, at Reggie the sausage. So so what do I do to relax? I don't look at my emails on a Saturday and Sunday.
Nice.
So that's one of the things that I do. So I still do work, but I'll just do that deep work on a weekend. So that when your phone's not ringing, you're not being distracted by your inbox or anything like that, and you can actually get the big tasks done. So but yeah, look, I still try and be quite active. So I do triathlons and marathons and trail running races and that aspect as well, which is so important, right? And that I've got quite a good kind of wellness schedule that I do, which was forced on me by chronic fatigue, right? That forced me to look at things and realize you're not looking after yourself as well as you should.
I didn't know that was going on, but I noticed you suddenly started, just some of your posts and so forth on social media, you started talking about doing marathons or doing triathlons or whatever. You started talking about it a lot more. Then you got the dog, and so it was all part of that, almost like therapy, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, it really was. And yeah, so I do all those things. I meditate as well. So swim as much as I can. That's my kind of meditation, because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You've got to look after yourself. You've got to use those weekends to really get yourself in a position where you can charge again on a Monday. So yeah, I'm quite protective of my weekends in a way, because I know that's time for myself and my family and my loved ones, and to do what I can so I can feel great on a Monday.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, mate. It's been a great discussion. We'll land the plane now, but it's been about 45 minutes, but it's been a great discussion, and just really cool to hear the raw story of an entrepreneur, right, Mark? I mean, yes, we hear it over and over, but to actually someone come on and say this has been my journey. And there's some real raw stuff. I've been taking notes as we've been going along.
but it's also while he's still in the journey. It's not like he's sold out, exited for millions or billions just yet.
That's what we love here at Business in Bare Feet.
It's exactly where our focus point is.
Yeah. We are focusing on people that are in the thick of it right now. They may have been successful somewhere else, but they're doing it right now, and that's why we love these real stories. And little envious that you're on the Sunshine Coast and we're both up in the mountains. I'm in the mountains in America and he's in the mountains in France, and although we do love that, but Justin, it's been an absolute pleasure, and really appreciate taking the time, and I appreciate you just being really open about your journey.
No, absolute pleasure, Jono and Mark. Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate the chance to be able to share it, and so this has been really good to see you guys. It's been a long time, and I'm definitely going to go back and look at the video from a few years ago. And how much,
we're all 4 or 5 years younger. So.
Yeah. The grey quality wasn't there.
No, exactly.
All right, so this is for Facebook. We're going to sign off right now. The recording's still running on Zoom, but thanks very much for being with us today. And if you're coming in later on, please leave us comments, any questions, even questions for Justin. You can find Justin on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, places like that, if you need to talk to him. But thanks for joining us, and come and join us in the Sandtrax Club as well. We have, we're growing our community now. We have a free product, which is the Sandtrax community, and then we have the club as well, which is a paid community that gives you access to incredible mentors like Mark.
What Jono?
But and me. And but we have over 25.
Get some good mentors around you.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we have over 25 mentors all over the world that are doing it right now, and they've been very successful in what they do. So come and join us. We'd love to have you part of that conversation. Thanks, guys. We'll kill the live stream and just hang around.